Hello, my name is Gareth Smart. You're watching the Hub Online Network, and this is the first for myself anyway. You might be watching in a different order, but I have Jackie Tegart in studio as my first interview for the candidates of 5 candidates in our riding. So let's let Jackie say hi.
Hi, Gareth. It's great to be here, and thank you to the Hub for providing the opportunity.
My pleasure. So I do apologize for everybody at home. I'm working the tech gear by myself, so if it's a little bit slow, I apologize. So what we're trying to establish here today is, because we're in a new election, we want to find out for yourself what the Liberals are wanting to do. A, as a bigger province, and B, for our riding of Fraser-Nicola.
Well, this is a very interesting time to be having an election during a pandemic. And of course, we have expressed our dismay that John Horgan and the NDP decided to call this election at this time. We know the numbers are going up. We know that people are very concerned about their health. And as a campaign team, we have put people's health as our top priority. Not only people that we're interacting with, but our volunteers. So very different campaign, much of it virtual, much of it from my kitchen table. And you'll see signs, you'll see ads, you'll see social media, you'll see newspapers, those kinds of things, pamphlets coming out. But you won't see us at your door, you won't see us at events, because we're trying very hard to protect people's bubbles and to be very aware of the safety of people.
I am not Jackie Tegart. So let's start off something a little bit fun then. Despite the fact that it's a stressful time, and I totally get that, especially when you didn't have a lot of time to prepare, what is one of the things that you find actually fun to do during a campaign, or especially in this campaign? Is there anything that sort of stuck out in your brain as this isn't so bad in COVID opposed to last time?
Well, we actually held a car rally in Merritt a couple of weeks ago. It was so much fun. Andrew Wilkinson came up and did a Main Street in Merritt, talking to business people, getting a sense of how they're feeling. But we also had a car rally, and we had a flat deck, and Andrew and I up on the flat deck, and people in their cars. And when we were talking and they liked something we did, they honked their horns. It was so much fun. It was the first time that we felt like we'd really had the kickoff to the campaign. Because when you're working from the kitchen table, it doesn't feel the same. My love of campaigning is around interacting with people. And that's how you hear what the issues are, that's how you help people to address them, and that's how you hear what you're doing right and perhaps things that you could do better. So I miss the people interaction, but we're looking for ways to do it in a different way.
Have you been getting like more phone calls than normal, or being inundated with emails or anything like that instead of having face-to-face conversations?
Absolutely. We've been very, very active on social media. And for those of you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you'll see that we've been very active, and we get a lot of feedback through those mediums, but also telephone calls. So it's been hard to gauge where people are in regards to the election. It's because we don't have big events, it's hard to gauge how engaged people are with the election. But we have five candidates running, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's put their name forward, and we have a choice to make. I can tell you that the BC Liberals understand that choice, and we're very serious that this is an important election. We are coming out of COVID. We are coming out of an unprecedented time in our history. And we have, as 3 parties in the legislature, made an agreement that we would not politicize the pandemic, that we would work together, because public health is the most important thing that we need to work together on during the pandemic. But when John Horgan took that goodwill and politicized it by calling an early election, I have to say that I personally was very, very disappointed. So we're on the campaign trail. We've got an exciting recovery plan for people to take a look at. We need to kickstart the economy. We have businesses that don't know if they're going to make it to the end of December. It is sad to talk to many businesses in our small communities. And there has been no help from this government. We passed a recovery plan, or a recovery budget in March. The three parties did in the legislature. 1.5 billion was targeted for recovery. And the NDP has held on to that money. When small businesses have been crying out for government assistance to help them, they spent many months at the beginning of the pandemic with no income whatsoever. Not only are the owners in a tough spot, but all of their employees also. And so as they went into the summer, if they were lucky, many of our hospitality and tourism businesses were able to open up at a much less capacity than in the past. And they're looking at a very bleak winter. So we're disappointed that John Horgan took that 1.5 billion and held on to it and didn't get it out to the people who need it the most. And then made an announcement around the recovery money, and 3 days later announced a snap election. So I think that business people have really suffered during the pandemic, and their employees. And with the election happening, of course, we have almost a 5-week election period. We know that over 600,000 people have chosen to vote by mail, which again tells you how important health and obeying Dr. Bonnie Henry's edicts are to everyone. And so we likely will not know the outcome of the election until after the count of all the mail-in ballots. And that may be the middle to near the end of November. So we're going to be 2 months with no government in place. Everything on hold. Everything on maintenance only. And small businesses that were waiting for that recovery money are finding out that everything's on hold. And it is a crying shame when you think about how important small businesses are in our downtown cores and in all our small communities. So the BC Liberals have put together an exciting plan to kickstart the economy. Our #1 platform piece is no PST for a full year. The idea behind that is that will inspire people to get out and look at spending their money locally and supporting our local businesses. PST affects everybody. It's not a break for people who are rich. It's not a break for, it's equal across the wage earners. The thing about PST though is that people who make less spend a higher percentage of their money on PST than people who make more money in our society. So we're trying to look for something that would help everyone, including encouraging people to get out and to spend money in the economy. The other thing we're talking about also is we are the only party that has committed to provide choice for insurance, for car insurance. We believe that ICBC needs competition, and we have committed to provide that opportunity for the citizens of British Columbia. We're hearing from people nightmare stories about how much their insurance has gone up, particularly our young people, first-time drivers. We've also committed to give a 2-year safe driving discount to first-time drivers, and if you've taken a driver's course, we will give you 4 years of credit. And we heard nightmare stories when the ICBC rules rolled out under the NDP government of kids who had a $4,000 car and it was $5,500 to insure it. That's horrendous. These young people have jobs, they need to get to university, they need our support as they start to establish themselves in the world. And so our government, if elected, will commit to provide competition in auto insurance. We also are talking about parents going back to work. And we know how tough it is for parents who have children and are going back into the workforce. John Horgan and the NDP promised $10 a day daycare in 2017. They have failed to deliver. The BC Liberals are committed to $10 a day daycare, but it is graduated. It is $10 a day daycare if your income is $60,000 or less. It is $20 a day daycare if your income is $90,000 or less. And $30 a day daycare for people making $125,000 and less per household. So it's graduated, it recognizes the people who need it the most, but it is a promise that we will keep. So those are three key components of our recovery plan. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the other medical emergency that we're facing in British Columbia, and that is the opioid epidemic that we see. I think I've heard so many heartbreaking stories of the number of deaths that we're seeing on the streets and in private homes around opioid addiction. We believe that the NDP plan has failed. They put in a separate ministry. Over the 3 years, we've seen much more homelessness. We've seen many more deaths. We've seen them warehousing homeless people. And we are committed that we need, number one, to reduce the harm, and number two, to provide a pathway to recovery. We are committed to do the infrastructure that is needed to provide beds for addiction issues when they are needed, not when some facility decides or government decides that someone has to wait 6 or 8 weeks, sometimes 6 months before they can get into a facility. We have challenged the NDP on this in the legislature. We know for a fact that there are empty beds in British Columbia, and the thing that's holding up recovery for so many people is this government has refused to fund those beds that are available. So we are committed to a pathway to recovery, and we are committed to work towards solving the homeless problem. So, an exciting platform, a very comprehensive platform, and one that I'm looking forward to helping to deliver in the next government.
So that's sort of the overarching Liberal platform, which sounds good. It's interesting to hear, the changes to ICBC. I've only heard one thing about the PST, which is, and this is a thing for another time, but the question that was asked is, so you give the PST off for a year. How do businesses flip over in their software? Are businesses going to have to pay for a new software to take the PST off, and then in a year get another set of software to put the PST back on? But that was the only question that really I was given about that. So that sounds great. So that's the big picture. What's the small picture? So what I mean by that is, here we are in Fraser-Nicola, and there's lots of infrastructure talk for Metro Vancouver. What can we hope for in our riding?
Well, in our platform, we have committed to invest an additional $8 billion in infrastructure. And included in that is road repair, viewpoints, lookouts, and very much a focus on rural. I can say that I'm very pleased to announce that in that infrastructure dollars, there's also $2 million committed to the development of the Maccabee fossil pit. It's an exciting project. It's one of those projects that, number one, will build jobs while we build it. Number two, will invite the world to our area. And number three, will help us develop the tourism stops that we need in the region to have people come here and it be a destination. A Maccabee fossil, I think, is one of our treasures that we have just started to realize. And I think that the people who, through Community Futures, who have worked out at the site over the last couple of years, will tell you that people come from all over the world. And so I'm very pleased that we've been able to commit $2 million to that project. The other project that will come into the Fraser-Nicola is a $6 million road that the city, or the District of Hope, has been asking for quite some time. And it is within their boundaries, but it has been a problem, single lane with a light that allows cars to wait and go on a major road out to an incredible experience if you've ever been to the Othello tunnels. It is, again, one of those tourism stops in the Fraser-Nicola riding that we have thousands and thousands of visitors come to. We are committed $6 million to that project. And the other exciting one is every community in Fraser-Nicola has talked to us about seniors housing, about supportive housing for seniors. How do we allow seniors to age in their home communities? And out of that $8 billion infrastructure money, there is money committed to seniors housing throughout the Fraser-Nicola. So besides the bigger pictures, which is highways improvements, bridge improvements, hospitals, schools, etc., those are specifics for our area.
Another large topic that always comes up whenever I talk about this with people is, of course, rural internet. And you and I have talked about this before. If anybody is interested in seeing previous interviews that I have done with Jackie, you can go to our YouTube channel. And if you're also interested to learn more about the Maccabee fossils, you can go to the Hub on Network's YouTube channel as well. But rural internet, what are your thoughts? Is there any progression on that? Is there anything that you're hoping to do in the near future?
I have been an advocate for rural internet from the day I got elected. And I think that the pandemic has made us all realize, as we're at home and much more dependent on our social media and our ability to reach out to people from home, that there are lots of gaps in our region. I am absolutely committed to advocate and to ensure that we get our share of any funding that's available to upgrade and make sure that we can welcome people into our community as new residents, but also to reinforce for the residents who are here that we should not have less than people in the urban areas. Internet is like in the olden days when you had telephone. You know, some people in the rural areas had party lines. It is time to get off the party line system, and it is time to get on the internet system that everybody in British Columbia should have. We've been educating kids on hybrid systems, and some of our citizens can't even take advantage of that because of the lack of internet. When you talk to people in the urban areas, they can't believe that we don't have high-speed internet in every place in our riding. So it is high time that we got on this, and I can tell you, if there's any dollars available, we'll be at the front of the line.
So I think the only one negative thing I want to talk about is the possibility of going greater in debt. That's sort of been a big hot button topic. The Liberal Party seems to be the one party that is willing to invest and borrow more money for certain reasons. Can you elaborate on that and explain how that might not be such a bad thing, if possible?
Well, I think as a region, we have been pretty fortunate during the pandemic in having like an industrial site like Highland Valley Copper, having many industrial sites continue to work through the pandemic. We have seen an incredible impact on employment in so many small businesses. And we have been able to help people come through that through federal government support and through some support through the provincial government. We know that we're facing hundreds of thousands of people going to be facing unemployment by the end of the year. We know that some people will qualify for other supports, some people will not. We believe that this is like wartime budget, that as we came through the war, governments realized that we needed to kickstart the economy for those people who were coming home and they needed jobs. We need to have that mindset right now. We may have been immune in many households to the impact of COVID on our jobs, but we have neighbors, we have people in our community who are unemployed and who are looking at the end of the supports from government. And we have, as government, we need to show leadership in order to create jobs, in order to kickstart the economy. And this is not the time to be cutting. This is the time to spend the money to get the economy going. When our economy is robust, government brings in money through taxes, through all kinds of means. We need to get that kickstart for our economy. We need to ensure that people have job opportunities, and we need to build a robust economy, because what we thought was going to be possibly 2 weeks or 4 weeks of a pandemic, we are now in what, month 8, month 9?
Yep.
And quite honestly, are looking probably 12 months from now as we move forward. And those 12 months are critical. The BC Liberals have a history of building things. They have a history of being fiscally responsible. They have a history of being able to lead a robust economy. And I'm saying to you, as I look back in the last 3 years with the NDP government, what have they built? What have they done to support small business? John Horgan seems to be a nice guy, but he's not the person to lead us out of this economic time. The BC Liberals have the history, they have the ability, they have the leadership to do what's needed to bring us out of the pandemic and to start our economy back up. I have not seen one mine started. I have not seen any red tape reduction so that people can get into our natural resource industries. I have not seen any support for small business. I have not seen a hospital built. I have not seen a school built. The BC Liberals build things. We support entrepreneurs who are the backbone of our economy, and I would suggest to you that building an economy is not sustainable by building government jobs.
Going back to the campaign,
Yeah.
What has the, I guess for how much time do you spend talking with other potential MLAs from the Liberal Party? And how much do you collaboratively work together with the party leader? How do you guys strategize? How does all of that work, especially when you have a limited time frame like this particular election?
Well, we have a call every day. So we're very aware of what's happening in the campaign. We're very aware of where the leader's going to be. And I talk to colleagues every day. We're all feeling a bit out of sorts that this is a very odd time. We all get filled up during a campaign by meeting people, by going to events, by feeling the energy of and the momentum of an election. This is very odd. And it's not, I think about it as a campaign, but I think it's also reflective of how all of us are feeling as we tighten our bubbles and again hunker down as the numbers go up for the pandemic. As much as I want to be out there, as much as I want to talk to people one-on-one and get that feedback, every time I think about going to an event, I think, can I trace if, God forbid, I got COVID? So the top priority is to make sure that everyone stays safe, that we do the best we can in getting the message out in the newest ways that we have. And I can tell you, even as a campaign, we don't get together. And we do lots of Zoom calls, lots of FaceTime Live, reaching out, telephones, but it's not the same.
One thing that just sort of popped into my head here, so I'm sorry for the sort of sideways question. What are the... Everybody kind of knows what the Liberals and the NDP are sort of running on, what they're doing, that kind of stuff. But what are the actual ideals that drew you to the Liberal Party? If that makes sense.
The Liberal Party is a coalition, and it is a coalition of liberals, conservatives, and everyone in between. So we are not associated with the Liberal Party in the national sense. We are very much a BC grown party. We are the free enterprisers. We believe that jobs are created by people who are given the opportunity to be free enterprises. And for me, be careful what you ask for from government, because I truly believe that government's job is to facilitate and to help businesses and communities grow. It's not to get in the way, put in too many rules, make it so difficult that you can't get things done. And that's what appealed to me to the Liberals. What also appealed to me is that the Liberals have a rule that you are not whipped to vote a certain way. We have a no surprise rule, but you will see in the legislature that we have had a number of times when we have members of our caucus who vote differently than the rest of the caucus. And that was really important to me. And so as much as we are a caucus that comes together and has richness of discussion, I can tell you, because we don't all think alike. I think our decisions come out better, our positions come out better, and I think it's good to have healthy debate.
You talked about all the great things you want to do in our area. What is if you could do one more thing, like a bucket list thing that you feel would really not even do good for us, but just something that you feel would do good for us. In Fraser Nicola, what would something in the back of your mind that you'd like, that's the thing?
You know, healthcare is incredibly important. And I hear from people who indicate that they're considering leaving communities due to lack of health care. And so as much as I'm excited about seniors housing and allowing seniors to age in place, we need to be real about health care and what we have to offer in our small communities. So if I had one wish that I could fulfill, it would be to look at the healthcare facilities that we have throughout the riding and to enhance the services so that people felt safe in community, so that they felt we may not have everything in our traditional hospital buildings, but we have what we need as a community to feel our doctors are supported, our healthcare professionals are supported, and our community feels we have the facilities to ensure that they feel comfortable staying in our communities.
Awesome. So I guess at this point, is there anything else, one last message you'd like to get out to the voters before Election Day?
Well, I would like to emphasize that this is a critically important election. Although it was a snap election and we have a great many people that I talk to who say, oh, when's the voting? This is a critical time in BC's history. We are coming through a pandemic. We have a health crisis, actually two health crises that need to be dealt with. And we have an economy that's in the tank. People are unemployed. Families are wondering how they're going to pay their rent. They're wondering if they'll have a job at the end of the year. We have seen incredible kindness in our communities, neighbor to neighbor, people gathering and supporting. But I think this election is about leadership. It's about pulling us out of where we are and doing a recovery plan that leads to jobs, leads to opportunity, does not leave us feeling in despair. And I think that when you look at who has that experience, I would tell you the BC Liberals. The BC Liberals have a history of building economy and healthy economies. We are fiscally responsible. We are builders of infrastructure. And with our new leader, Andrew Wilkinson, I would hope that people would give us their support in this election. We need to rebuild BC, and we need to ensure that you have confidence in that. So I ask for your support on October 24th.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. For everybody at home, once you've seen this, you can also go check out the All Candidates Debate and Forum. It's going live tonight, but you won't be able to see it until it's on our YouTube channel. So watch that, and thanks again to Jackie, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much.